There are many mitzvahs in the Torah that challenge us, some difficult to understand, and other mitzvahs that just seem minor and technical, and we wonder, why does it matter? What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's he telling us? And this week's Parsha, I think we encounter one of them. We just had the details of the Mishkan in last week's Parsha, and now the Torah shifts to the Big Day Kahuna, to the garments of the Kohen Gadol, the 8 of them, and the 4 of the Kohen Hedyot. And among the garments that are listed are 2 that are tied together. The Ephod, an apron, and the Choshen, the breastplate, with the stones bearing the names of the Shvatim. Not only must they be attached, but the Torah formalizes it as a prohibition. V'lo yizach ha-Choshen me'al ha-Ephod. The Choshen is not allowed to be separated from the Ephod. Why such an emphasis? Why turn this into a prohibition? No, we don't ask why in the sense of challenging, but what does the Torah telling us? What are we to understand from such a prohibition? The Kli Yakar notices something else, something very subtle in the Psukim. You see, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us, when it comes to the Ephod and the Choshen, the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us first about the Choshen and then about the Ephod. But in Parshas, in Vayakal and Pekudei, when Bnei Yisrael are putting together the Choshen and the Ephod is mentioned prior to the Choshen. The Ephod comes first. Why the change? Torah didn't forget what it said earlier. Why does it make any difference? So the Gemara in Arachin teaches us that the Big Day Kahuna bring kapara. They atone for specific averos, for specific errors, for specific sins. The Choshen tells us it atones for ivus hadin, for judges who distort justice. And the Ephod atones for avodah zarah. And the Kli Yakar explains that is why the Torah switches. Depends on a person's perspective. You see, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us, the Choshen comes first because injustice between people causes pain and therefore suffering. And Hashem is more particular. He cares more, so to speak, about the human beings hurting one another than about his own kavod, his own honor, and the prohibition of avodah zarah represented by the Ephod. And therefore the Choshen precedes the Ephod. But when Bnei Yisrael construct the garments, they place the Ephod first. Because from our perspective, a begida, a attack on God himself, veering to avodah zarah, is far worse than the interpersonal problems of ivus hadin, of there being a problem in the justice system. It's 2 different perspectives, and they're both true. And then the Torah tells us something that is more powerful, and that is v'lo yizach ha-Choshen me'al ha-Ephod. They are not to be separated. Why not? It would seem to be that what the Torah is trying to tell us is that the Choshen represents the mitzvos bein adam lachavero, our responsibilities to one another, and while the Ephod represents the mitzvos bein adam lamakom, our responsibilities to Hashem. And it's okay to emphasize one. It's okay to be more passionate about one, but lo yizach ha-Choshen me'al ha-Ephod. They cannot be completely disconnected. You can never separate the 2. How do you draw that balance? It's one of the challenges in life. But perhaps the Torah hints to us the solution, and that is the Urim v'Tumim. The Urim v'Tumim is placed inside the Choshen, a piece of parchment with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on it that serves almost as the battery, if you will, for the Choshen, be able to illuminate, to answer the questions of Klal Yisrael. Achieving the appropriate balance between the 2 requires the siyata d'shmaya. It requires putting Hashem on our hearts. It requires clarity and humility and constant recalibration. To live with a deep commitment to Hashem, to live with deep care for people, and to ensure that the 2 are forever bound together. That's the lesson of the Choshen and the Ephod. To make sure that in our lives we strive for the balance, to figure out how we can make sure to be looking out for each other, and to make sure we are loyal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in all that we do.